At some point in your life, you realize that nobody is coming to save you. No mentor appears out of nowhere. No moment magically fixes your problems. No excuse suddenly becomes valid. That realization is painful, but it is also the beginning of becoming a man. Responsibility is the line that separates boys from men, and most people avoid it because responsibility is heavy. It demands sacrifice, it demands consistency, it demands ownership even when things go wrong. A man is not defined by how he feels. He is defined by what he handles. When pressure arrives, when chaos hits, when life becomes unfair, a man does not collapse into complaints. He stands still, assesses the situation, and takes control. That control begins the moment you stop saying, "This happened to me," and start saying, "This is mine to fix." Responsibility is power disguised as burden. Weak men see responsibility as stress. Strong men see it as authority. The moment you accept full responsibility for your life, you gain the right to change it. Until then, you are just reacting. You are just surviving. You are living at the mercy of circumstances, emotions, and other people's decisions. Most men today are trained to run from responsibility. They blame society, the system, their parents, their past, their luck. They point fingers because it feels lighter than lifting weight. But every finger you point outward is a hand you refuse to use to build your future. Responsibility means you stop outsourcing blame and start owning outcomes. When you accept responsibility, you stop asking what's fair and start asking what works. Life is not fair, and a man understands that early. He doesn't waste energy crying about reality. He adapts, he improves. He becomes capable enough that unfairness doesn't break him. Responsibility shows in the smallest actions. Waking up when you said you would. Training even when you don't feel like it. Keeping your word when it costs you, showing up prepared, handling your finances, controlling your habits, protecting your time. Leading by example instead of demanding respect. A man with responsibility doesn't need motivation speeches every morning. His discipline carries him forward. He doesn't wait to feel inspired. He moves because things need to be done. People depend on him even if no one says it out loud. And that silent dependence is what gives his life meaning. The world respects men who carry weight. Families trust men who don't fold. Businesses reward men who solve problems without excuses. Women feel safe with men who are stable under pressure. None of that comes from words. It comes from responsibility lived daily. When you take responsibility, your standards rise automatically. You stop tolerating laziness in yourself. You stop allowing chaos in your routine. You stop negotiating with weakness. You begin to understand that every choice you make is either strengthening you or exposing you. Responsibility also means accepting failure without becoming fragile. When you fail as a man, you don't hide, you don't justify, you don't collapse. You analyze, adjust, and move forward stronger. Failure becomes instruction, not identity. The most dangerous lie ever told to men is that life should be easy. Easy makes men weak. Challenge makes men sharp. Responsibility forces growth because it demands performance under pressure. It demands leadership even when you are tired, frustrated, or doubted. When you accept responsibility fully, something changes internally. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of circumstance and start seeing yourself as a force. You carry yourself differently. You speak with clarity. You move with intention. Your presence becomes heavier because your word means something. Acting like a man begins here, not with confidence, not with dominance, with responsibility, the willingness to carry the load without applause, to stand firm when others panic, to lead without needing permission, to fix what's broken instead of explaining why it broke. This is the foundation. Without responsibility, strength is fake, confidence is hollow, ambition is noise. But with responsibility, everything else compounds. Discipline becomes natural, respect becomes inevitable, purpose becomes clear. And the man you are building starts to show in every room you enter and every decision you make. As the weight gets heavier and instead of running, you stand taller and realize this is exactly what you were built for. One of the biggest lies sold to men today is that emotion should lead decisions. That if you feel tired, you stop. If you feel angry, you react. If you feel unmotivated, you wait. That mindset destroys men quietly because emotions are unstable, temporary, and often dishonest. Acting like a man means understanding that emotions are information, not commands. A man feels fear, frustration, anger, doubt, just like anyone else. The difference is what he does next. Weak men obey emotions immediately. Strong men pause, assess, and choose their response. Emotional control is not suppression. It is mastery. It is the ability to feel deeply without letting feelings dictate behavior. When pressure hits, emotions get loud, heart rate rises, thoughts race. Excuses appear instantly. This is where most men lose control. They speak when they should stay silent. They quit when they should endure. They react when they should calculate. Emotional control is the skill that keeps you steady when everything around you is unstable. Life will provoke you. People will disrespect you. Situations will test you. Losses will hurt. If you let emotions take the steering wheel, your life becomes unpredictable. One bad mood can destroy years of progress. One emotional decision can cost reputation, money, relationships, and opportunities. Men who cannot control emotions are easy to manipulate. They are predictable. Push the right button and they explode or collapse. A man who controls his emotions is dangerous in a disciplined way. Calm under pressure. Silent when provoked. Focused when others panic. Real strength is staying composed when chaos is screaming for a reaction. It's choosing long-term respect over short-term relief. It's understanding that discipline feels boring, painful, and lonely. But emotional indulgence feels good now and destroys later. Emotional control shows in how you speak. A man doesn't raise his voice to feel powerful. He doesn't explain himself endlessly. He doesn't vent his problems to everyone. He speaks when necessary, clearly, directly, and with purpose. Silence becomes one of his strongest tools. It also shows in how you handle anger. Anger is energy. Used correctly, it fuels work, focus, and progress. Used incorrectly, it burns bridges and ruins futures. Acting like a man means channeling anger into discipline, training, building, improving, not into shouting, arguing, or proving ego. Most men sabotage themselves emotionally in private. Late night scrolling, comfort eating, avoiding work, escaping responsibility. These behaviors are emotional decisions disguised as habits. Emotional control means doing what needs to be done even when your body and mind resist. When you master emotional control, confidence grows naturally. Not loud confidence, quiet confidence, the kind that doesn't need validation. You trust yourself because you know you won't betray your standards in a weak moment. You know you won't fold under stress. The world respects men who are emotionally stable. Leaders are trusted because they don't panic. Families feel safe because emotions don't dictate behavior. Businesses succeed because decisions are calculated, not reactive. Emotional control creates reliability, and reliability creates respect. This discipline is built daily. In training when your body wants to stop, in conversations when your ego wants to win, in setbacks when frustration wants to quit. Each moment you choose control over reaction, you sharpen this skill. A man who controls his emotions owns his time, his energy, and his direction. He is not dragged around by moods, cravings, or impulses. He moves forward regardless of how he feels, because feelings change but standards remain. Acting like a man means understanding that your emotions are real, but they are not in charge. You acknowledge them, then you do the work anyway. You feel fear and still act. You feel tired and still train. You feel doubt and still execute. This is how discipline is built. This is how respect is earned. This is how men separate themselves from boys who are ruled by impulses and moods and excuses and reactions, while you remain composed, deliberate, and dangerous in your ability to stay focused no matter what pressure tries to pull you off course. Comfort is the silent killer of men. It doesn't attack loudly. It doesn't announce itself as weakness. It wraps itself in convenience, entertainment, excuses, and routines that feel harmless. And slowly, day by day, it drains strength from your body, clarity from your mind, and hunger from your spirit. Acting like a man means understanding this truth early and refusing to live a life designed to make you soft. Pain is not the enemy. Avoidance is. Every man who has ever become strong, physically, mentally, or spiritually, was forged through resistance. Weight builds muscle because it hurts. Pressure builds diamonds because it compresses. Hardship builds men because it forces adaptation. Comfort asks nothing from you, and in return, it gives you nothing of value. Most men chase a painless life. They optimize for ease. They avoid struggle. They escape difficulty the moment it appears. And then they wonder why they feel empty, weak, and directionless. A man without challenge becomes restless, anxious, and insecure because deep down he knows he's wasting his potential. Pain gives structure. It gives direction. It reveals limits and then pushes them. Training hurts because your body resists change. Discipline hurts because your habits fight back. Growth hurts because the old version of you doesn't want to die quietly. That discomfort is not a warning sign. It's confirmation that you are moving forward. A man who understands pain doesn't complain about it. He schedules it. He chooses controlled suffering instead of uncontrolled regret. He trains hard so life feels easier. He builds discipline so chaos has less power over him. He embraces discomfort early so he isn't crushed by it later. Comfort creates fragility. The moment pressure hits, comfort-trained men fold. They panic, they blame, they quit. Men trained through pain remain calm. They've been there before. They've suffered by choice, so suffering by circumstance doesn't break them. Strength is not built in perfect conditions. It's built on bad days, on days when motivation is gone, when progress feels slow, when nobody notices, when quitting would be easier. Those moments shape identity. Those moments decide whether you are becoming stronger or staying the same. Pain also builds respect. You respect yourself when you do hard things. You carry yourself differently when you know you can endure. Confidence isn't affirmations, it's proof. Proof that you can suffer without collapsing. Proof that you can stay disciplined when it's uncomfortable. The modern world is designed to remove pain. Food is instant. Entertainment is endless. Discomfort is labeled as trauma. Struggle is treated like something to avoid. This creates men who are emotionally fragile, physically weak, and mentally distracted. Acting like a man means rejecting this programming. A strong man intentionally seeks resistance. He lifts heavy. He works long. He sharpens skills under pressure. He takes responsibility that scares him. He chooses growth over ease. He understands that the pain he avoids today will return tomorrow as regret, insecurity, and weakness. Pain teaches humility. It reminds you that you are not special, that results are earned, that excuses don't matter. Pain strips ego and leaves truth. And truth is the foundation of strength. When you stop running from pain, fear loses its power. You stop asking if something will be hard and start asking if it's necessary. You stop negotiating with discomfort and start using it as a tool. Pain becomes a signal that you are exactly where you need to be. This is how men are forged, not in comfort, not in safety, but in resistance, repetition, and responsibility. Strength grows when you lean into difficulty instead of escaping it, when you choose effort over ease, when you embrace the grind without romanticizing it, when you accept that pain is not a phase, but a teacher that stays with you as long as you continue pushing forward into challenges that shape your body, sharpen your mind, and harden your character into something unbreakable. Discipline is the difference between men who talk and men who build. Motivation is temporary. Feelings are unreliable. Mood changes with sleep, weather praise, criticism wins losses. If your actions depend on how you feel, your life becomes inconsistent and weak. Acting like a man means you execute regardless of mood, because results do not care how you feel today. Most men wait to feel ready. They wait to feel confident. They wait to feel motivated. And while they wait, life passes them. Discipline removes waiting from the equation. It replaces emotion with structure. It replaces excuses with standards. You don't ask yourself if you feel like doing the work. You already decided that the work gets done. Discipline is quiet. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't post quotes. It doesn't beg for recognition. It shows up early, stays late, repeats the same actions daily, and compounds results while everyone else is distracted. That quiet consistency is what builds strength, wealth, skill, and respect. When discipline becomes your foundation, chaos loses power over you. Bad days don't derail you. Good days don't make you lazy. You train when you're tired. You work when you're bored. You keep promises when they cost you. That reliability turns you into someone people trust and depend on. Feelings lie to you. They tell you to stop when you should push. They tell you to quit when you're close. They tell you to relax when you're falling behind. Discipline tells the truth. It says do it anyway. It says discomfort is temporary, regret lasts longer. It says action creates clarity, not the other way around. A disciplined man does not negotiate with weakness. He does not ask himself if skipping one day is okay. He knows consistency is fragile and one excuse opens the door to many more. He understands that standards only work when they are non-negotiable. Discipline shows in your mornings. How you wake up, how you prepare, how you start the day. Men who start the day in control stay in control. Men who start the day reacting stay behind. Structure creates momentum. And momentum silences doubt. It also shows in how you train. You don't train to feel good. You train to become capable. You show up when progress is slow. You show up when results are invisible. You show up because you decided who you are and you act in alignment with that decision. Discipline creates identity. When you consistently do hard things, you stop seeing yourself as someone who tries and start seeing yourself as someone who finishes. That identity becomes self-reinforcing. You don't want to break your own word because your word defines you. Most men fail not because they lack potential, but because they lack structure. They rely on bursts of motivation instead of systems. Discipline is a system. It removes decision fatigue. It turns daily actions into habits. It frees mental energy for higher level thinking. The world respects disciplined men because discipline produces results, not opinions, not promises. Results. You cannot fake consistency. You cannot fake endurance. Over time, discipline exposes who is serious, and who is pretending. Discipline also protects you from your worst impulses, from distraction, from indulgence, from self-sabotage. It keeps you moving forward when your mind tries to pull you backward into comfort. And excuses. Acting like a man means understanding that freedom comes from structure. The more disciplined you are, the more control you gain over your life. The less disciplined you are, the more your life is controlled by emotions, cravings, and external pressure. This is not about being extreme. It's about being reliable. It's about doing the basics perfectly, daily without drama, eating properly, training consistently, working with focus, resting with purpose, repeating the process whether you feel like it or not. When discipline becomes your default, confidence follows. Not loud confidence, calm confidence. The kind that comes from knowing you will not quit on yourself when things get uncomfortable. You trust yourself because you've proven it through action. This is the standard. This is the expectation. You do what must be done because it must be done, because excuses don't move the needle, because feelings don't pay the price, because the man you are becoming depends on your ability to execute even when motivation disappears and the day feels heavy and progress feels slow and no one is watching, and you still move forward without hesitation or complaint. Respect is not requested. It is not negotiated. It is not given because of words, opinions, or titles. Respect is the byproduct of consistent action over time. Acting like a man means understanding that how you live daily speaks louder than anything you ever say. Most men want respect without paying the price for it. They want to be taken seriously without becoming serious. They want authority without responsibility. They want recognition without consistency. And when respect doesn't come, they complain instead of correcting their behavior. A man who earns respect doesn't chase it. He focuses on standards. He focuses on execution. He focuses on reliability. People respect men who show up the same way every day, men whose mood doesn't dictate performance, men whose word means something because it is backed by action. Consistency builds trust, and trust creates respect. When people know you will do what you say, when you say you will do it, regardless of conditions, your presence carries weight. You don't need to demand attention. You don't need to explain yourself. Your track record speaks for you. Respect starts with self-respect. If you constantly break promises to yourself, you teach others how to treat you. If you tolerate laziness in private, it leaks into public. If you cut corners when nobody is watching, your confidence erodes. A man who doesn't respect himself cannot command respect from others. Self-respect is built in discipline. Training when it's hard, working when it's boring, saying no to distractions, holding yourself accountable without needing supervision. These actions form identity, and identity shapes how the world responds to you. Men who seek validation talk too much. They explain, they justify, they argue. Men who are respected don't need to convince anyone. They let results handle the conversation. Silence backed by performance is powerful. Respect is also earned by how you handle pressure. Anyone can act confident when things are easy. Very few remain composed when stress hits. The man who stays calm, thinks clearly, and acts decisively under pressure separates himself instantly. People notice. They remember. Consistency during hard times is what builds reputation. When results are slow, when progress is invisible, when effort goes unrecognized, men who stay disciplined through these phases become dangerous because they don't depend on praise to perform. The world is full of men who start strong and disappear. Strong first weeks, Strong first months, then excuses, then silence, then mediocrity. Respect is built by finishing, by staying when others leave, by repeating the basics long after excitement fades. A respected man doesn't complain publicly. He handles problems privately. He doesn't blame. He fixes. He doesn't gossip. He observes. He doesn't react emotionally. He responds strategically. These behaviors communicate strength without words. Respect also comes from boundaries. A man who stands for nothing will be walked over. A man who enforces standards earns respect even from those who disagree with him. You don't need approval from everyone. You need alignment with your values. People respect men who don't need to be liked, who don't bend under pressure, who don't change their principles for comfort or popularity. That stability creates authority in relationships. Respect comes from consistency, being dependable, being present, being strong without being cruel, calm without being passive, firm without being emotional. These traits signal safety and leadership in work. Respect comes from output, solving problems, taking ownership, producing results, showing professionalism when others make excuses. Over time, that reliability becomes influence. Respect is slow to build and fast to lose. One moment of emotional weakness can undo years of discipline. That's why a man stays sharp. He protects his reputation by protecting his habits. Acting like a man means understanding that respect is not an event. It is a process, built daily through small actions repeated without fail. How you wake up, how you work, how you train, how you speak, how you handle setbacks. You don't need to announce who you are. Let your discipline introduce you. Let your consistency defend you. Let your results speak when you're not in the room. Over time, respect becomes automatic because your behavior leaves no room for doubt, and people feel it before you ever say a word. And your presence alone changes how conversations stop and how standards rise and how expectations shift, because consistency has quietly turned into authority. Every man will be remembered for something, even if he never thinks about it. The question is not whether a legacy exists, but what kind it will be. Excuses leave nothing behind. They dissolve the moment you stop speaking. A legacy is built through actions that continue to speak when you are silent. Acting like a man means understanding that your life is not just about how you feel today, but about what remains because you existed. Most men don't think long term. They think about comfort, relief, survival, entertainment. They live in the moment without realizing that moments stack into years and years solidify into reputation. One day, time catches up and they look back realizing they were busy, but not building anything that lasted. A man who thinks in legacy terms moves differently. He understands that every habit is a vote for the future. Every disciplined day adds weight to his name. Every excuse subtracts from it. Legacy is not built in grand speeches or dramatic gestures. It is built in ordinary days handled with uncommon standards. Excuses are easy because they feel reasonable. Tired, busy, stressed, distracted, unmotivated. Everyone has excuses, which is why they produce nothing unique. Legacy requires responsibility, carried quietly over long periods of time, without applause. A man leaves a legacy by becoming dependable. When people know they can count on you, even when it's inconvenient, your value rises. When your word holds weight, your presence matters. When you don't disappear when things get hard, you become rare. Legacy is not about fame. It's about impact. It's about being the man who handled pressure without collapsing. The man who showed discipline without needing supervision. The man who improved himself so the people around him were safer, stronger, and more stable because of it. Excuses explain why nothing happened. Legacy explains why something changed. When a man chooses discipline over excuses, he changes outcomes. When he changes outcomes consistently, he changes lives. Starting with his own. A man who leaves a legacy understands that comfort is temporary, but consequences are permanent. He doesn't ask what feels good now. He asks what will matter later. He trains because weakness would cost him later. He works because instability would cost him later. He holds standards because chaos would cost him later. Legacy is built in unseen moments. When nobody is watching, when no one would know if you quit, when shortcuts are available. Those moments reveal character, and character decides legacy. The world remembers men who endured, men who carried weight without complaining, men who didn't fold under pressure, men who stayed disciplined when motivation disappeared, men who sacrificed short-term pleasure for long-term results. A man with a legacy mindset does not waste time proving himself verbally. He lets consistency speak. He doesn't chase validation. He builds competence. He understands that respect earned slowly lasts longer than attention gained quickly. Legacy also means responsibility beyond yourself. The way you live sets a standard whether you intend it or not. People around you absorb your habits. Your discipline raises expectations. Your excuses lower them. Acting like a man means choosing to be a standard, not a warning. When you remove excuses from your life, clarity appears. There is no confusion about what must be done, only execution, only progress, only growth. That clarity simplifies decisions and sharpens focus. A man who leaves a legacy accepts that life will be difficult. He doesn't resent it. He uses it. He understands that struggle is the price of significance. That pressure is the cost of becoming someone worth remembering. You don't leave a legacy by talking about who you want to be. You leave it by becoming that man daily, through discipline, through responsibility, through emotional control, through consistency, through action. Excuses end when the moment passes. Legacy remains long after words fade, long after moods change, long after circumstances shift. Acting like a man means choosing legacy over excuses every single day, knowing that time is always watching, and the work you do now is quietly deciding whether your name will mean strength or nothing at all. Everything in this speech leads to one unavoidable truth. Being a man is not a title, it is a standard. A standard proven daily through responsibility, emotional control, discipline, consistency, and the willingness to endure pain without complaint. The world does not reward intentions. It responds to actions repeated over time. Acting like a man means you stop waiting for motivation and start living by principles. You stop letting moods dictate behavior. You stop choosing comfort over growth. You stop explaining why things are hard and start becoming the person who can handle hard things. Strength is built when you take responsibility instead of blame. Respect is earned when your actions stay consistent even when no one is watching. Confidence grows when you keep promises to yourself. Legacy forms when excuses are removed and replaced with standards. This is not about being perfect. It's about being reliable. It's about showing up when it's uncomfortable, standing firm when pressure rises, carrying weight when others run from it, choosing discipline even when no one will praise you for it. The modern world tries to make men soft, distracted, and reactive. Acting like a man means rejecting that path and choosing mastery instead. Mastery over emotions, mastery over habits, mastery over time, mastery over self. From this point forward, the responsibility is yours. No one else will do the work. No one else will carry the load. No one else will build your strength, your respect, or your legacy. Decide who you are. Set your standards. Execute daily. Let your life speak louder than your words. Act like a man.